That's right. Checkmate.
Swag, swagger, swag. Swag, swagger, swag. I don't really want it, cause I'm Michael Jackson bad. Swag, swagger, swag. Swag, swagger, swag. I ain't got nothing on me, cause I'm Michael Jackson bad. Everybody wanna be labeled the truth, but they don't wanna walk a mile up in these shoes. I focus on fitness, ain't handling my business and put on for the HBCU. Right in my prime, my waist on my grind. I'm revving my engine, I'm trained to go. Just like the diamond under the ground, I'm destined to shine, and that's for sure. Boy, take a seat, it's our turn. Yo, look at the moolah we earn. Don't play with fire, you'll learn. That way I would stay lit, we burn. Look, they swag, I'm swag, you swag. Y'all ain't ready, too bad. I overcome obstacles, nothing's impossible. I make them say, how did he do that? No matter the circumstances, boy, there ain't no second chances. But the odds got the advantage. Still gotta get up and handle it, that's facts. Dog, I'ma need some room, step back. One thing I won't do is lack. Only thing I pursue is cash. I don't really know about you. Swag, swagger, swag. Swag, swagger, swag. I don't really want it, cause I'm Michael Jackson bad. Swag, swagger, swag. Swag, swagger, swag. I ain't got nothing on me, cause I'm Michael Jackson bad. Swag, swagger, swag. Swag, swagger, swag. I don't really want it, cause I'm Michael Jackson bad. Swag, swagger, swag. Swag, swagger, swag. I ain't got nothing on me, cause I'm Michael Jackson bad.
Okay, swag, swagger, swag, I got that. Once I get the ball, you never get the rock back. Ringmaster, no top hat. We the best of the best, can't stop that. I steppers be stepping, alumni be rapping. Our drumliners out of this world, yeah, you know the deal. Show up on fields and serve with them L's like Louis Vuitton. We in our prime like 21. No matter the hill we climbing. Cause they say that pressure make diamonds. Probably why our women the finest. We shining on haters. You hate all you want, you can't fade us. You do what you can, but we do it major. We SWAC. Dripping like nobody else can. You think you gon' beat us? You gon' need a brand new game plan. You gon' need a brand new offense. Your team is DOA. They gon' need a brand new coffin. We champions, we don't do talking. But I green like the boys in Boston. Yeah, we running, we ain't got time for walking. Never know lanes, we boss.
Swag, swagger, swag. Swag, swagger, swag. I don't really want it, cause I'm Michael Jackson bad. Swag, swagger, swag. Swag, swagger, swag. I ain't got nothing on me, cause I'm Michael Jackson bad. Swag, swagger, swag. Swag, swagger, swag. I don't really want it, cause I'm Michael Jackson bad. Swag, swagger, swag. Swag, swagger, swag. I ain't got nothing on me, cause I'm Michael Jackson bad.
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there in HBCU land. You know what it is. It's Thanksgiving week, so y'all know what that means, man. We're near the end, near the close of this year's football season 2024. But hey, man, there's still a lot more football to go. We still got a SWAC championship to play. We still got a Celebration Bowl to play. And you know what? We still got this upcoming weekend with the Bayou Classic on deck, right? And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on in the show. Before we get into that, man, first and foremost, I want to thank you all for following and subscribing to the channel. If you're not following us on Twitter or Instagram, make sure you do both of that, PV_versus_everybody. All right. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you're following us on both of those platforms. Also, go ahead and like and subscribe to the video. Share some love, right? And go ahead and subscribe to this video, man. Let us know you appreciate the content by going giving us a thumbs up, man, and going giving us a subscribe, right? Because the goal right now is 750 subs, right? That's the goal that we got right now. So you can help us to reach that goal, right? By going showing some love. If you're checking out this video right now. And listen, I've been telling y'all every time we meeting week in and week out, if you don't got a home, you need to hit up my boy, Jeff McKissick, all right? He's a PV A&M alumni, Texas licensed loan officer with Fairway Independent Mortgage Company, and he'll help guide you seamlessly through the home buying process. See, many of us are unaware of our credit score or true financial situations, but Jeff will help you develop a step-by-step plan to improve your financial standing, making your dream of owning a home achievable sooner than you think. You know, he understands your financial situation may not be perfect, but it's okay. Listen, he understands that the sooner you start the conversation, then you can start to solve those problems like credit issues and student loan debt. So don't let the fear of achieving new heights hold you back from getting the home of your dreams. Perfect for your growing family or for hosting those PV watch parties. So get started now on taking the next steps towards your new home and also taking the next big step in your life. So don't delay. Talk with Jeff today so you can be in your home tomorrow. And he looks forward to speaking with you soon, man. So with that being said, man, you know we got to get into. We got to call up my co-host this afternoon. All right, you know what I'm saying? Not on a Sunday, but on Monday because it's Thanksgiving week. You know what I mean? It's Thanksgiving week. So first and foremost, before we get into it, man, Thanksgiving. What from a football standpoint, Coach Northern? Because I know you coached during this week. I know you've watched a lot of games during this week. If you had to name, man, the most memorable Thanksgiving week moment in your football life, right? Whether watching, whether coaching, right? What's the most memorable Thanksgiving week football moment for you? I think you muted. I think you're still muted.
Hey, this is going to sound crazy.
There you go.
One year, I was coaching at Grambling, and I went hunting before we had practice. So I'm at the baseball coach's house. I shoot something, track it, and I sort of get lost in the woods. So his dog comes out, and I'm following his dog thinking it's going back to the house. So lo and behold, the coach comes out there. He said, "Man, I saw your truck at my house. I didn't know you were back here." He said, "Y'all don't have practice?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm following the dog back to the house." Lo and behold, the dog is not going back towards his house. So I make it to practice probably 10 minutes before we start. That's probably the craziest moment of Thanksgiving week that I can share with you guys.
Oh man, you about to be in a whole nother. You about to be in a whole nother place. Better be happy that dog ain't take you to somebody else's house.
Hey man, that would have been. If he would have took me to the street, I would have been okay. But he was going further and further back in the woods. I guess he liked to take his little stroll. But yeah, that's crazy.
Is that the same dog that we've been talking about that's been going in and out of traffic? Is that same dog?
Nah, it's not the dog that chased the car when it passed by. Nah.
Okay, this is a different dog. Yeah. Carrie, I see you in full paper bag mode. You don't look happy.
I don't know how long I'll need the bag, but they did it to me again. But I only wore it a little bit of the time because my Chiefs won yesterday. Barely. I was gonna double bag today, but I'm good.
This is a college football show. All right. It's a college football show.
There you go.
We're not talking about the Chiefs today. All right.
I
Especially
got
since
on
they
some
won.
black for the Saints. I got black. That doesn't work.
We ain't talking about them either. I definitely don't want to talk about them right now. All right.
Yeah.
Even though we still got an outside shot, all right, to get into the playoffs. But I don't want to talk about them.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about them either right now. You know what I'm saying? Hey, what's your most memorable Thanksgiving moment football wise, Kerry?
Football wise, well, I don't have a moment. My favorite moments is watching Dallas the old Dallas on Thanksgiving. That's kind of my favorite there because PV usually doesn't play on Thanksgiving, but that's my most memorable is watching them play. Those are usually pretty good games, and everybody's watching because it's the only thing on. But it's the '90s Cowboys, not now. Mm-hmm.
Man, the thing I can remember is just watching 3 NFL games, not eating food.
Yeah.
That listen, like.
Locked up.
I think Lino's got
ain't no room for the Cowboys here. Okay, ain't no room for the Cowboys here. Man, let's get into it. Week 13, winners, biggest winner and biggest loser for week 13. Can you guys hear me? It looks like it's you guys still hear me?
We can hear you, but it's buffering. Your picture is froze.
Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go. Week 13, biggest winner and biggest loser for this week.
Well, I got 3 biggest winners, and it's gonna sound like a lot, but I got Tennessee State, Miles, and Virginia Union. Both of those got playoff wins. The two, the CIAA and the SIAC winners, and then Tennessee State tied for the OVC or whatever they call in the conference, and they gonna make it to the FCS playoffs. My biggest losers, I got Prairie View and Valley because they both. Just the way that they lost, Prairie View was a close game, and then Valley had 28-28 at the half, and then to drop it, I think they was 35-49, something in that range. So they're my biggest winners and biggest losers.
Mr. Kerry,
yeah, I guess on mine, I didn't have a big winner this week, but yeah, shout out to Miles. I guess if I was to pick a winner, I would say, even though they're not going anywhere, but Texas Southern, unlike our school, ended up on a high note, winning their game because I thought that they would lose the UAPB, but I didn't think they'd be able to keep up. It would have been interesting to see how Texas Southern season would have went if KJ Cooper had stayed upright. And my biggest loser to me, outside of Alcorn getting really beat bad, but I would say my biggest loser would be Prairie View because they had the game in hand. You played against a team that couldn't move the ball, and your defense played really well, but you let them down when you couldn't get into the end zone. And you had chances, but you just didn't get it in. So I would have them probably as the biggest loser, even though they didn't stand a chance to make it to the next level anyway.
Yeah, I really like, Coach mentioning these two schools. I mean, two schools. I think Miles is their first playoff win in their school history, which is just huge and big in the first place, right? For HBCUs, obviously, to get the job done in the first round. I mean, it's such a huge accomplishment, right? Because we always talk about, us being able to go up against these, other PWIs and how it's been, most recently. And so even with Tennessee State, obviously, so huge, right? For them to be able to, finish the season with a win, beat Southeast Missouri State. Now they have a chance to go up to Montana, right? It was going to be a tough game for them, but they're there, right? They're in there, right? You know what I'm saying? And that's all you can ask for is obviously to get in there and get a chance, right? You know what I'm saying? So super shouts out to them, and shouts out to Eddie George, man. You know what I'm saying, for what he's been able to do over at Tennessee State over the last, few years. Stadium ain't full, but stadium ain't full, but at least they in the FCS playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Now, it ain't nothing like going to the Celebration Bowl, though, Tennessee State. So y'all ain't gonna understand
at all.
Not at all.
Going up to Missoula right now to go get killed, y'all ain't going. This ain't the same type of experience going up to the cold. It ain't the same to go to Atlanta. But we appreciate y'all, and we obviously are rooting for y'all to do something major if y'all can get it done.
Hey, I checked the high temperature Saturday in Missoula. I think it's going to be 31. So that's a whole different ball game. The other thing, I think Miles is going to play Valdosta State, who's coached by a Texas Southern alum.
Yeah, that one's going to be a good one too. Valdosta State, and also Lenore Ryan plays Virginia Union, right?
Okay,
Lenore Ryan last year, team that beat Benedict, Coach Chinsberry and them in the playoffs, right, which is a really good game. So it's going to be interesting because to those teams, I mean, if Miles and Virginia Union win, you realize they play the next round, right?
Yeah.
Because in D2 is regional, right? Everything is based on regions, not necessarily kind of like complete overall best teams. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be super interesting to see if both of them could get by and wins. Both of them got really tough hills to climb though with both of those schools. Valdosta and Lenore Ryan, are teams that have traditionally been really good. You know what I'm saying? D2 power. So that's a hill to climb. But I know, Sam Shade and Brother Parker over there at Virginia Union are really hoping they can get the job done. So let's keep it moving, man. Talking about, the MEAC and the independents first and foremost, right? Obviously, you got North Carolina Central 52-10 victory over Delaware State. South Carolina State 53-21 over Norfolk. Morgan State with the victory over Howard 35-21. Then you had Tennessee State, we talked about it, 28-21 over Southeast Missouri. A&T with a loss to Elon. That ends their opportunity to get a D1 win this year. And then Albany and Hampton 41-34. And again, keep seeing Hampton in these games, right? You know what I'm saying? Staying relevant in the CAA. You can see, and you got to hope that, man, hopefully next year, man, they can get over and kind of win some of these games. But starting off, man, North Carolina Central, obviously with the big win over Delaware State, they are ranked number 23. And so even though their years ended, they didn't get an FCS playoff bid. Obviously, I think their strength of schedule obviously was just not strong enough. And also the loss to Elon hurt. But, man, what does it mean for this program to be able to finish in the top 25? This is the second year in a row. Obviously, Coach Trey Oliver is not happy with not winning the MEAC last year or this year, obviously, right? Not having a chance at the Celebration Bowl. Last year had a playoff shot and opportunity, fell short to Richmond. This year not getting that chance. But 2 years, the last 3 years, you win the MEAC, win the Celebration Bowl, you finish in the top 25 of the last 2 years. What does that show about the respect that this program has and that, Coach Oliver has with the FCS recognizing Central as one of the top 25, teams in this subdivision?
I think the fact that they play a few schools from a P5 or whatever 5 you want to call them, 4, they play well, and then when they go out of conference, against some of the other regional FCS programs, they fare pretty well. So there's, like I say, a feather in the cap of Coach and his program. They do a good job pretty much no matter who they play. They gonna always be in the game.
Gotcha. Nah, that's true, man. They've had a good showing, obviously out of conference too as well over the past couple of years, which makes sense why they would get that respect like that. Carrie, what are your thoughts about just this Central program in general? And like I say, even though they didn't win the MEAC this year, how do you feel about them being able to finish, top 25?
I think it's really good because, ever since that program lost to Prairie View, it looked like their trajectory just went up and it stayed up. And I applaud them because in this day of the transfer portal and NIL deals, it's really tough to keep a team like that at the FCS level because only the larger FCS programs have that NIL money just really flying around. So I think it's kudos to the staff and the administration for them to keep those type of caliber players. And also, that team reminds me of South Carolina State. You know, they both get those trench players, and that's what makes the difference in those out of conference games. And I think that's the other thing that you got to give them kudos on as well.
No, that's facts. You know, so basically, you're saying if you want to be successful, just go ahead and lose the Prairie View one year, and then your program gonna be on the up and up. That's what I heard. I mean, I don't know what else everybody else heard.
Hey, that's what happened to Houston. That's what happened to Houston Baptist. They lost to Prairie View that one year, and we can't touch them now.
So UIW
did the same thing. We went down to San Antonio, beat them up, and
that's true. Coach Northern knows about SFA. They ain't really been on the up and up. I think we probably need to beat them again so they can kind of bounce back up. I think that's what we need to do there. South Carolina State, obviously 53-21, huge win for them, obviously to go ahead and close the season off with this win. And now you got a couple of weeks that you got to wait, right? Coach, how would you be handling this next couple of weeks? Because you got to wait for now Bayou Classic week with the Thanksgiving. You got to wait for SWAC Championship week. And now, good thing is that game kind of moves up a week, in my opinion, for MEAC because you don't have 4 weeks basically. You got 3 weeks. How do you handle, this from a logistical standpoint, right? What would you be focusing on this week, next week, and then game week?
Well, we're probably going to do a good bit of conditioning just to keep the guys in shape. Maybe 3 to 4 days out of the week. We might go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or Monday through Thursday, get the guys a bone to go back home, maybe catch their high school that's in the playoffs, let the coaches get out on the road recruiting the first week. The second week, we may start back doing – I'm going to tell my guys to do some throwing on their own. Then the second week, practice is probably going to be real short. We're probably going to do some pass skelly, some team blitz pickup, a lot of special teams, and then you start getting ready for the game. But another thing that I would imagine that they're going to do, we at different schools I've been at, whatever I'm at. So if I was at Prairie View, we would call it the Panther period, where our younger players might scrimmage on offense, might scrimmage our younger players on defense for a few plays. And I might let my starting quarterback call the offense and my starting middle linebacker call the defense, and then they scrimmage a goal line situation, blitz pickup, and whoever loses has to run gases, or they have to carry the offensive player's shoulder pads, and we'll do something like that. But we'll keep it competitive and try not to bump too much, because that's like an extended spring practice. That's why those bowl games are actually set up the way they are. So you can see how a younger team can be so good, and they get a lot of reps in what they're doing because they get those extra bowl practice. So that's probably what you can see if you went up there right now.
That's good. That makes sense, right? Kind of give you a chance to really prepare for upcoming. And obviously, that's some extra reps that you get to be able to have that you don't necessarily have to count against, like, your 2025 season as well, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's super beneficial for them. Morgan obviously able to close out the year now 3-2 with the win over Howard. I think this program is in a standpoint where they're still kind of bumping into the top dogs in the MEAC. Seem like they're there, but from an offensive standpoint, it doesn't seem like Morgan has been able to figure that out. To get over that hump for this Morgan squad. Outside of obviously, the quarterback situation, and it seemed like kind of, I would say that maybe that defense a little bit regressed this year too. Not they wasn't a horrible defense, right? But last year they had like a top FCS defense.
Yeah.
So just understand, right? Yeah. So you're talking about top 5, top 10 defense last year. Maybe they're a top 30 defense this year, right? You know what I'm saying? And so that's a big slide when you talk about the gap between where the defense is and the offense is, though, right? As far as them getting wins. What do they need to look forward to now in this offseason? And then Howard as well, after taking that big step back after getting over the North Carolina Central hump last year. I mean, they kind of look like a completely different program this year under Coach Larry.
Good.
Yeah, I think with Morgan State, what they need to look forward to is some more consistency on offense, which I think they had that coming around. Is the quarterback coming back? I can't remember.
Yeah, the quarterback is young. I think he was
Yeah,
a
because I thought he was young. Yeah,
sophomore,
that's what I was
redshirt freshman,
remembering.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they look forward to his maturity. And like I said, with the other MEAC schools, they'll have the trench play down. And look like they could have, I don't remember the names, but look like the defensive backfield was not quite what they were before, but they probably were young as well. So, but I think they look forward to that next year. If they can consistently score points, like they have on some of the teams, like you said, they just don't score like that on the big dogs. So once they get a little bit older, I think they'll look forward to competing at the top, because I think these top three teams are going to be the teams we'll be looking at in the MEAC, the North Carolina Central and South Carolina State and Morgan State will be in the mix as well.
Yeah, I think so as well. Coach, what are your thoughts about maybe what Howard needs to do to kind of recapture what they had last year?
They got to get better, like I say, along the offensive and defensive line, and be able to pound the rock as they want to. I think that was the biggest step back for them. And I think also you talk about Morgan, they were not as big as they were on either side of the ball. But in that areas, it's a lot more kids that go off to play college than you would think.
Mm-hmm.
And they can get some of those, we call them bounce backs, that's from the local high schools. I know Coach Wilson has a great relationship with those guys. And both of those schools will probably bounce back. So I see next year it may be everybody in the MEAC has a loss pretty much, because all those schools that didn't win it, they definitely gonna upgrade through the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, go ahead, Kerry.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Gotcha. So keep it moving, man. I really like what Hampton is doing. I keep mentioning it all the time that it looks like, they're doing something, and again, you at the end of the day, you're trying to win the game. But when you look at kind of jumping over to that CAA, which is at the end of the day, a better football conference than the Big South. All right. It just is what it is, right? Just across the board, on the FCS level. Them really being in a lot of games this year, I think for me is really actually kind of shocked me that they were in a lot of these games as much as they were. Some games they were actually even up late, end up losing them late, right? And so, I really think it's interesting to see what they're building there. I know, and I forgot the coach's name, right, because he was the guy who was the interim, right, that they end up, then given that full head coach status. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see what Hampton can continue to build into the offseason and going into next year. Because, man, I kind of like, right, the fight that they showed throughout this season. A&T, obviously, they really got to figure it out, to be such a big powerhouse program and kind of to see where they are now. But the AD already told, like my cousin is an A&T grad, and I'm like, well, your AD already told you it's going to be 4 to 5 years on the football, right? Front. So he kind of let you know that off top as soon as y'all made the move. Whereas all the other sports, he said, hey, this is going to be 2 years. This is going to be 3 years. We're going to be good from the jump. Like, he really been spot on from all the programs so far, right? Women's basketball, from the jump, y'all been straight, right? Like volleyball, like you can see that he knew what he was talking about program-wise. And so he understood that this is going to take some time to build up. And yeah, man, we talked about Tennessee State. Any other thoughts on just Tennessee State and that program and kind of them preparing for this FCS playoff game against Montana coming up this weekend before we move forward?
I just know they better have money in their budget for jackets and gloves and hand warmers. Look, that's going to be a different ball game when you got to go tackle in that cold. Man, a lot of people ain't built for that. So it's a little different up there. I'll tell you that much.
Right. They have a lot of Southern-based players. So
yeah,
that bites different, because I'm from Kansas City, and my last high school game, we had a barrel with some fire in it because it was 13 degrees. So when you play football in that, that's different than somebody that played in Houston. It might get down to 45 degrees, and it don't bite you till it get in those teens, and that's no joke. So,
and the crazy thing about it, the stadium may be filled with Montana fans there because, like I said, they gonna be there with their hunting gloves and jackets and hand warmers and full of whiskey. So it's gonna be still be a good, exciting place to play. Like I say, you just got to go thrive in the environment. And like I say, you can't control the cold, so go out there and control what you can.
Yeah,
no, that's facts. Yeah, that's facts, man. I think that, at the end of the day, you just got to go out there and fight, man. It's gonna be a tough one to see what if they have a chance to get it done, man. But it's gonna be a tough one. So moving forward, man, talk about the SWAC here. First and foremost, Alabama A&M with the 49-35 victory over Mississippi Valley. And I mean, Alabama A&M is like, man, in different games, man. It's like they've been able to turn on the offense. Like, if they could figure out defensively, how to get in order, it's like you almost feel like, man, this could be a completely different team, but it's just defensively they've not been able to keep teams at bay. Any thoughts on this game? And any thoughts on kind of Valley and kind of what they've been doing toward the end of this year? Obviously, the fight with PV 17-16 to win against FAMU, and obviously this game they were fighting in this game too as well, able to put up 35 points even though they end up losing by 14. What's your thoughts on where Kendrick Wade has that Valley program as they now go into their offseason?
Well, you have to think they trending in the right direction. The thing you have to hope is they don't have players get poached from other schools that, even SWAC schools that played against them. Guy had a good game against them. Say, hey, man, why don't you come over here and play with a few more good guys like yourself instead of being the only, sort of decent-sized fish in the pond over there. But I think if they can hold on to some of their younger guys, they gonna scare some people because what they do offensively is actually they have a pretty good scheme with the misdirections, and defensively, I think if they get a little bit more size at the linebacker spot, I think they'll be okay. And they gonna always be able to find some decent defensive linemen, but the problem is the depth at Valley drops off a lot more than the depth at a lot of other schools when you go to second and third team. And can you rotate a whole defensive line in the game like some of the other schools in the conference? They might can rotate in two guys, but they're not sending a whole new full defensive lineman in on third down and different things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think they're getting Coach Northern probably know better than me, but I was thinking they're getting another bump on their scholarship numbers.
Supposedly, yeah. Like I say, a lot of times you got to wait till you see it on paper until you believe it.
That's the one right there. Yeah, you're right. Because they said it, but for it to come to action and be in fruition is true. But, I think that they've brought a knife to a gunfight a lot, but they cut up the guy with the gun. So those guys they're even without the 2-foot tall grass, they've still been tough this year. And we don't remember Valley scoring this many points on any defense in the SWAC. Mm-hmm. So they're definitely trending in the right direction. I'm interested to see how well they go. Their defensive backs played decent this year, but A&M were able to kind of take advantage. But right. Yeah, I want to see how they go. And the poaching of the kids, that is going to be a tough one there.
Tough, right? Yeah, and then from Alabama A&M standpoint, they have a chance to finish third in the SWAC if they can win on this upcoming Friday against FAMU. And seeing FAMU over the last 3 weeks, you got to say Alabama A&M at least has an opportunity, right, to get the job done. So I think that would be really big for Coach Maynard, in this Alabama A&M program, especially going into this next year. Because I think X is graduating, I believe Xavier Langford, but I think Quad would be able to come back. So you kind of may be in a better position. And that's just the one thing. It's just like for me with A&M, it's like I wish Maynard kind of would decide who he wants to be that guy and just let him be that guy, because it seems like this push-pull, is kind of, it is very interesting, you know what I mean? But hopefully going into next year, he knows who that guy is, and with what you see they being able to do kind of in some of these games this year from an offensive standpoint, again, if they can figure out on defense, maybe this could be a different program, right, going into next year. Moving forward, Texas Southern 31-23 victory over UAPB, able to close out the year with a win. Big for Coach Chris Dishman. I think they finished at 6-6 on the year, if I'm not mistaken, right? So Texas Southern, or maybe 5-7. Let me look it up real quick. But 5-6, actually 5-6 on the year overall, 4-4 in conference. And it's a team that most people didn't have winning any conference games, right? And so, what is your thoughts on kind of where Texas Southern is right now? Obviously, KJ Cooper was hurt early in the year, who really was a guy that they wanted to be their guy at quarterback. And so having him hopefully come back for next year. Obviously, the transfer portal, you always got to say hopefully at this point, right? You know what I'm saying? But hopefully,
yes.
Right? You know what I'm saying? And where does that put Texas Southern coming into next year with kind of the young running backs that they got, with the young quarterback they got, right? And still having a lot of pieces on the defensive side that should be coming back and now are senior really led, right? Senior and junior led on the defensive end. So,
yeah.
Where you feel about this Texas Southern program going into the offseason as well?
Yeah, I think Chris Dishman said we added some muscle, and I think they did get bigger, more athletic on the defensive side. And that really helped them. They have some aggressive defensive backs. They have some front seven guys that can go side to side pretty good. That KJ Cooper, man, he stands tall in the pocket, and he's not an easy guy to bring down. So if they get him back next year, that's going to be an interesting team to face. And I think they shedded off all the disrespect that they got. They did go 4-4 in the SWAC, but it's been a long time since they won that many SWAC games. So, yeah, I'm just curious to see how they come back this year. And I don't know if KJ had another year or not, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes if their offense stays intact.
Yeah, I think they still gonna probably want to upgrade their depth at the quarterback spot. I thought the backup, I want to say Wilson would have played better in the scheme, because I saw him play a couple times, not this season, but the one before, and I thought he was going to give some people some problems, and he could find windows to throw the ball. I think they probably tried to make him too much of a drop back passer instead of getting him to the edge because of his height. But I think that's going to be a team that they know they can play conference pretty much, because how close they were in some games. Minus, want to say the Jackson game, but I think they're gonna be much improved from a mindset standpoint. They just got the new weight room open, so I know Coach Dish is gonna have those guys in the weight room and on the track early and often, trying to get much bigger, faster, and stronger during this off season. So to upgrade from a talent standpoint as well as a record standpoint when it's all said and done next year.
Right. And he's going to have a full year instead of how late he started this year. He really started with his hand behind his back. And I didn't know he was even a coach, but I was impressed with my guy, Kimball Anders. I was on playing with him a couple times going back to Kansas City when he played for us. Yeah. And I'm impressed with how he had those guys rolling as well. So with them having a full off season, they're gonna be somebody you got to watch out for.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's definitely gonna be a really, really, big off season for Texas Southern and Coach Chris Dishman over there at Texas Southern. Now, Florida A&M. First of all, obviously that was a fight, and I think Florida Classic just for so many years has been like that. I remember even when I think it was BCU that was really down for a few years, right? They still won like the Florida Classic for like 3-4 years in a row. It was crazy. I remember that, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's so interesting to see, this game be so close, right, and high scoring. I know Coach Cozy wasn't happy about the high scoring of this game, but for the fans, I'm sure they were happy to see this high scoring game, right, make it really fun. Florida A&M able to come out with the victory here. What was your thoughts on just this game and on, Florida A&M able to pull out this victory? I think which is big for them, right? Because at the end of the day, they had they were kind of feeling it, right? You know what I'm saying, from the standpoint of the last couple of weeks. And from the standpoint of, man, they put up, I think, over 300 rushing yards this game. So almost look like it's a complete different team, right, from what you saw early in the season, where it looks like, and I know Coach, Campbell was talking about, them being able to run in different points in time, but not really necessarily selling out to the run game. And now you look up and like, you put up 325 in one game rushing. This is what you had the ability to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What's your thoughts, Coach, on this game, man?
Hey, man, it's a rivalry game. So, you could say the records go out the window, but, sometimes the pattern of what you do on offense and defense goes out the window. You may take a gamble here and there, try to bring a lid, sit back if you get beat early. But I just think that's a typical rivalry game. So that score don't surprise me, because you'll have some jokers that you hadn't heard from all year make some ESPN top 10 type plays in those rivalry games. So that's sort of to be expected, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that game is a weird rivalry game, because that game reminds me of the Prairie View A&M Grambling game. And because it was weird, when Coach Simmons was at Prairie View, Grambling was kind of a thorn in his side. Then he went to FAMU, and BCU was a thorn in his side. So I said it's such a similar game, because FAMU was a little more finesse than BCU, and BCU was, hit you in the mouth kind of team. So that's why it reminded me of the Prairie View Grambling game. Prairie View would be in the weight room, and Grambling would be out on this dusty field with big tractor tires and pulling logs and all that kind of stuff. And so they were covering that game gritty, and that's what this game reminded me of. So not surprised. I was surprised that the score was that high, but I wasn't surprised it was that close.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it always is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, and like Q was saying here, they guaranteed themselves a 500 season, right? So now Jackson Alcorn, Coach kind of mentioned this the last week, saying, hey, if the QB was going to be out, he kind of was losing hope that, Alcorn would have a chance, because he did predict. I just want to remind everybody, he did predict that Alcorn was going to beat Jackson and Southern was going to beat Jackson for the championship game, right? You know what I'm saying? He didn't say what was going to happen in the Celebration Bowl, but he did predict that now. You know what I'm saying? Now, Coach, we're going to give you a mulligan here, because Alcorn, the quarterback, wasn't there, and the game got – they don't even look like a Soul Bowl that we know, right? This don't look like the Soul Bowls that we've recognized for the years that all of us have been in the SWAC, right? You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to give you a mulligan here. You got 2 weeks. Is Southern still going to beat Jackson in the SWAC championship game?
Yeah.
He's not changing. He's sticking with it is. I can't give you that. I can't give you paper.
I'm just trying to save him. Nope.
Hey, man, this what I keep going back to. It's hard to beat the same team twice in one season, and they got a good streak going. That streak gonna have to end sometime. So it's like a double negative of Jackson beating Southern. So you got the 2 times in one season, as well as the streak that they have going. So they may, but knowing Coach TC, he gonna have them guys ready. I just hope it's a good game, and that Southern pulls it out in the end, to be honest with you. But I just think because of what's going on, it's a good chance that Southern will win. The only thing, man, we really don't even know which quarterback gonna play the Bayou Classic. Let's move the championship game.
That's true. That's a good point. Right?
That's true.
So, I mean, hey, listen, we got the dog running the street. We got chicken feet all around, right? So, Coach said we got negative and negative. So now, my grandmother, right? You know what I'm saying? She was a math teacher in my hometown, Monroe, Louisiana. So many, guys who and young ladies who grew up in that era knew her, because she was the first, Black woman to integrate the University of Louisiana Monroe that Coach Hampton mentioned, right? He coached that recently. But, she integrated that school, taught math. She was very strict, very stern. So every summer we definitely had to do a math book, right? I'm working through a math book. So one thing that I learned when I did all that math is that a negative times a negative
is a positive.
A positive, which means Jackson State still probably gonna win this game. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay.
What is it about it?
Talking about two double negative. Listen, we ain't adding here. We're not adding and subtracting here. We multiplying. All
yeah.
Right? So no. You say it won't be close. JSU by 24 points. Hey, but listen, he got a point though, because it's hard to beat teams twice, man. It is hard to beat teams twice. The problem right now is that Southern, we don't even know if Southern gonna have the same team. Because the quarterback they had in the first game might even play.
They'll sit you down.
None of the two quarterbacks. First of all, we have no idea. So it's gonna be interesting, man. But let's get to it. Coach, you ready for Northern Lights?
Yeah, man. We talk about it.
You ready? It's been a minute, and first of all, I know because listen, everybody has heard all the news. I'm sure by now because it's been going around everywhere. But we already said we was gonna tell you, we was gonna talk about in the first place anyway. So we want to go back in time, right? You know what I'm saying? And let Coach Northern tell us a little bit about some of the things that's been going on in the.
All right. So look, some of these stories. Let me see if I can get it. I need to move this way. All right. So I'm going to tell these stories like it happened to me, a lot of them, but some of them are stories that I know happened to other coaches. So when I was in school at Southern, I actually took a coaching class. Coach Bob Bennett, who was on the coaching staff at Southern, taught a class in the PE department. Even though I was a math major, I knew I wanted to be a coach. So I took his class. So he said a couple things will let you know you're about to get fired. Number one, they start messing with your recruiting. Number two, they start messing with your overall budget. Number three, when you do something good and they don't let anybody know that you've done something good, whether it's your players doing something, getting honors, donating to the school, different things, or community service projects, they make no mention of it because they want to make you look like you the scum of the earth. So I'm going to tell you this. I hate getting performance evaluations. So I have been fired twice after getting exemplary on performance evaluations. So if a AD, head coach, or somebody bring me in and say, Coach, we want to sit down and do your evaluation, I'm going to just start getting my resume paper together and know within a month I'm going to be gone. I've gotten performance evaluations and told I was going to get promotions, and lo and behold, within 2 to 4 weeks in a couple of occasions, I've been told, man, we going in a different direction. The bad thing, I was working at one place, told me he wanted to retain me, and I took him at his word. So I went and put a new roof on my house. And 3 weeks later, I got hit with we going in a different direction, coach type of stuff. I was at one school, the head coach made everybody come in that was on the staff and interview for their job. One guy, he went into the interview because he was already working at the school. He just wore his school-issued warm-up suit. He got let go because he didn't wear a shirt and tie. It was, that type of stuff going on. So I'm going to talk about like some swag stuff. So it's plenty of what we call man law violations. So it's a couple of people that's off limit. If I know some coaches that have been fired for dating a head coach or the athletic director's daughter, wife, side piece, all that kind of stuff. So it's different stuff like that goes on. So I call them man law violations. The worst is when the AD head coach, the superior, is a married person and the coach is single. So it's like he have a right to, in my opinion, a right to almost everything. So it's a man law violation with that. So I got fired at one school, and the athletic director really liked me. So he said, Coach, I never heard anything bad about you. You need to come in, and I want to talk to you before I let you go. So he calls me in. He says, stand by the door. He tells the admin, hey, somebody needs to tell Coach Northern that he can't get fired if he's on a mental health break. So he sends the lady out the office. He calls me in. Come on, coach. He say, Coach, what are you still doing here? I thought you needed a mental health break. You need to go to the doctor immediately and tell him you need like 4 to 6 weeks mental health. So the athletic director did that for me because he liked me. Now I still got fired and lost my job, but I was able to keep my pay for a few extra weeks. Another thing that happened, it happened to another coach, but it was me. So I got a homegirl that works on the campus that I'm working on. So one of my homeboys, a dude I know lightly, I ain't gonna call him my homeboy, but a dude I know lightly tries to holler at her. Well, she asked me like, hey, do you know Greg? I said, yeah, I know Greg. We cool, but I don't know him like that. So they start trying to communicate via Facebook and all that. Long story short, the dude shoot his shot, get turned down a little bit, and then he insinuates that, the chick was like girls, for lack of a better term or whatever. So the girl comes back, or the young lady comes back and asks me like, hey, I thought you said your boy was cool. Like, look what he did. So eventually, I don't really see the guy anymore, but I get fired from the school that we at. So I go to the personnel office, have no idea where it is, and I'm walking down the hall, and I see the dude. Well, he sees me, and he knows that the chick told me what happened. So he dips into her office. So I go into the lady's office that I'm got to do my paperwork. So she taking a little while. I say, ma'am, is there a restroom close by? So look, I walk to the restroom and I see the door that the guy went in. Why this joker walked in the janitor's closet to avoid talking to me? I say, man, there's something here. But, you're dealing with stuff like that. Another coach. So at a lot of times when they hiring head coaches, they may have a sitting coach, whether it be assistant coach, assistant head coach, or the head coach on the committee. So one coach is on the committee for the athletic director. The coach, the football coach says, I know everybody, I think this guy's a little bit better for what we need. So long story short, the AD that gets the job gets word that this particular coach didn't nominate him to get the athletic director's job. Well, some time passed by, and when that AD had the first chance to get that guy out of there, he told him, I remember you didn't want me here. I no longer want you here, type of deal. So it's some grudges that get held when it comes to coaches and being on committees and stuff like that. The last two, I guess I'll deal with. So it's some people, some boosters. It's some boosters at this one school. And, Friday night, a lot of times the boosters drinking, the coaches might have a beer or two, but it's some boosters that's drinking. I'm talking about almost have to get carried back to their room in the hotel. But while they sitting there talking, one of the boosters says, man, if we lose this game tomorrow, we're going to fire this coach. Lo and behold, they lost the game. And the boosters thought that drunk decision they made was a good idea. And that head football coach got let go because them jokers was drinking, and they said it and they meant what they said when they said it. So it is, like I say, some stuff like that when guys, I just, to me, if you drink and you make a decision, sometimes you got to think, man, that ain't the best decision that I made when you sober up. The last one I'm going to tell you about. So I was at a school and I was having issues after the last game of the season. So I'm trying to get some stuff straight for the players, and I can't get anything straight. My email not working. I can't hardly talk to anybody to get my players. My players couldn't eat. I'll put it like that. Players couldn't eat. Players had got locked out the dorm rooms because of something that happened on the other side of campus. Well, I get a call and the admin calls me on my cell phone. She say, hey, they want to meet with you at 3:00 or something like that. And I say, okay, so I started looking around. I say, man, this fun. I never, got a call from this lady before for telling me about a meeting. So on the other end, I go into the meeting. So it's an undercover police officer in the meeting. The reason why I knew it was an undercover police officer because I had done a whole lot of stuff on the other side of campus. So long story short, the AD tells me, all this, we going in a different direction. Thank you for what you've done. And all I could think about was, man, this dude got an undercover police officer in here, like I'm gonna jump on him or something like that. But I will tell you this. The guy had a letter opener on his desk, and all I could think about was, man, I ought to take this letter open and stab this joke in his neck. God honest truth. So, that I'm gonna end it on that. Look, and I'm gonna tell this. So I get asked this question a lot. When I got fired from Prairie View, people ask me, is it true that my brother jumped on somebody? No, my brother did not jump on anybody in that office. Now, he said some loud words and basically told the athletic director, like, hey, man, you letting go of the head coach, but it's some other things that you really need to clean up around this program. So that did happen. I'll tell you two things, and this is the only two things I regret or that I hated about getting fired at Prairie View. Number one, they didn't let me talk to the team before I was basically escorted off campus. I had the police sitting there watching me pack my office. Number two, my son was probably 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old at the time. So I go pick him up from after school program. So when he gets in the truck, he's like, Daddy, why you got all this stuff from your office in your truck? I was like, we'll talk about it when we get home. So we get home. I bring him into my bedroom. My wife is sitting there on the bed, and I say, man, I got to tell you something. He say, I tell him I'm not gonna be the head coach at Prairie View anymore. They want somebody else there. And that joker broke down crying. He was like, he was starting to name. He was like, so I'm not gonna get to play with Jerry, or what about Brady, or what about Jonte, or what about Nick? He's, that's the only thing that really I regret, was not going to that meeting and talking to the players and then having to break it down to my son. So I put it like this. It's a lot of people that might be celebrating that Coach McDowell got fired, but I would never celebrate anybody getting fired. I don't care how wrong they did me. I'm not going to celebrate somebody else getting fired, because I know what it was like to have to tell your wife that you're no longer working at a place, or having to tell my son that he's not going to be riding a bus anymore to football games with guys that he go back on campus at Prairie View. They like, my son is taller than me now, about an inch or so. They see that joke and like, man, they hug him, and man, I remember you was running down on the field and all that kind of stuff. They show that joke a great love when he goes back on campus, and I appreciate that. So, like I say, people ask me, man, you mad at Prairie View? Now, I'm not mad at Prairie View, because if I was, I wouldn't even let my son apply to that son of a gun. But it is what it is. I'm going to end on that. So I know some people might have some questions in the comments or want to talk to me later. Holler at me. I'll tell you the real. It's some stuff I'm not going to say online, though, because it's going to be some fight starters for real.
Yeah.
The fact that people making their decisions over whatever spirits, that they consuming, like you say, I don't think that's the best way.
That brown liquor undefeated, man.
Undefeated.
That's crazy. So, oh man, Mr. Carey, what is your thoughts, man? Are you think they're? I know that behind the scenes, the other story is going to be even more interesting and worse. But a lot of times, like you say, right, it's at the end of the day, it's the programs. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, like your brother going in there and saying, hey, listen, we need to fix these aspects of things. That's really the stuff that makes a lot of sense sometimes, and the family aspect of it, right? And that's the tough thing about being a coach, just across the board, right? Football, basketball, just across the board, when you're on the collegiate level, the NFL level, NBA, et cetera. It's like, man, people are getting moved around, so much a lot of times, you don't really think about the aspect of, how the families are, are affected a lot of times, right?
And then the other thing that people don't think about too, and this is what HBCUs do, and this is just a personal thing, but they will let you work down to your last day before they let you go sometimes. The other thing is, and remember I told a story about I had some people come to my house saying, Coach Northern, you need to let these guys go. And I told them, if you're going to let them go, we're going to give them a severance package like those other schools do when they let people go. They're like, nah, we ain't doing all that. Well, I'm through talking then. Because I can go to my buddy, even if it's my brother, I can say, hey, man, they going to give you $60,000 to not coach next year. Will you accept that? And then he can make a decision. But, man, they'll wait till the last day, especially if you're in an at-will state, and be like, okay, get you with that. If they're going in a different direction, man, just tell me I'm fine. Don't tell me you're going in a different direction.
Just be straight. Shoot straight.
Yeah.
That's funny you tell the story like that because I got fired at a job and it's funny how when you didn't even do it, it's kind of like it was a job at this place and it was a stressful job. So I had to fire a bunch of people while I was there. So they called me in the office and the guy, because usually when my director called me in the office, he's like, Kerry, hey, we have a person on your team. You're going to have to let go. They're doing this, doing that. And I'm sitting there like, okay, boss, so I got to fire today. And then he slid the paper to me. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Hey.
And that was after I worked the whole day, like Coach Norton said.
Oh, man. Tell me at the beginning of the day. Listen, that is the worst. Tell me at the beginning of the day.
Let me add two more to the story. So, look, I got fired on my wedding anniversary one day. I went to the office after hours, and the head coach tell me, look, man, we going in a different direction. The other thing was I saw it happen to another coach. Hey,
find me at 8:03 a.m.
Nah, just tell me before I leave the house. But look, they made a coach fire. They made a coach fire his assistant coaches, so his assistant wouldn't get the interim tag. He let them go. And they turned around. It's like, you're going to keep your job. Then they turn around 2 days later and fired the guy that fired the people. One of them. I'm like, come on, man. We got to do better than that.
Yeah, we do.
You might as well fire all of them together then if you're doing that.
Pretty much. What I'm saying. We can all get let go.
Yeah. So they want to put the initial on him, you know what I'm saying, but then let him go. He was like he was the assassin, basically.
Yep.
Oh, man, that's crazy. I'm with V, man. Listen, fire me at 8:03. Matter of fact, Houston traffic, call me before I got to go to work, okay?
Yeah, let's say
I come there about 10 o'clock and get my stuff and go on about my business.
And see, it's so funny. That's why, listen, I have some homeboys who they don't believe, with a passion, they don't believe in the 2 week notice. With a passion. Because they just like, listen, man, they'll call me today and be like, goodbye. So I'm like, I ain't telling them. Soon as I got this other thing, they'll find out when they call me and I'm not there. I'm like, okay. I'm like, wow. Like, you ain't even let them know. It's like, man, listen, once I get this other job, they'll know when I'm working. Yeah. Like, hey, they call it. So they call you like, hey, man, what's going on? I'm at work. You're like,
yeah,
work. You not here. Like, no. I don't work there no more. I work over here, right? You know what I'm saying? Oh man, that's hilarious though. But yeah, man, it's the early sign is approaching. You know what I'm saying? Q say PV will be behind the 8-ball. How does those situations work? You know what I'm saying? Because that's a good question. I somebody did mention that too on yesterday about, and that's why they were saying, well, that's why they need somebody with an interim tag, is because something with being able to sign guys, during the early signing period. How does that, work in terms of that? Maybe you can kind of give us the actual rundown.
So the early signing period is pretty much, it's a big boy school setup. Really, they changed everything so the big boys didn't have to babysit committed kids. That's why all of that changed. Because remember, it used to be junior college early signing period, or if you graduated from high school early, you could sign. But that's all it is a method for the bigger schools because of bowl season. They can't go out and hit the road like just say a school like Prairie View finished playing football. They coaches can be on the road today.
True.
But
True.
they set it up for big schools. I put it like that lightly. I don't think they're gonna be behind, really, especially with the high school kids, because every high school kid in Texas and Louisiana still thinking that LSU is gonna come back in and offer them something. And I've seen it happen where a guy may get an offer because they fourth or fifth and guys start picking places, and then they looking for somebody that may not fit the measurables of what they like, but they had a speed or something like that. So that's really all it that's really what it's all about, is a babysitting. So I don't think they're gonna be behind as long as they get by 2 weeks from now, they definitely should have a head coach in place that's got a staff that's ready to hit the ground. And then with this transfer portal, they can load up on some kids as well as some of the junior college kids, because now the junior college kids are actually doing better in school because they're getting more qualified kids out of high school that may say, man, I still want to play college ball. I'll go to a junior college for a year, and if I play a little bit, get some film, then now somebody say, well, this kid played at Glenn or Navarro, all this kind of stuff.
That's pretty interesting. Because I know obviously you got the early period, but then you obviously got the regular period in February, right? Where you still got a chance to solidify a lot of other kids during that time. And now just how everything is, I mean, it's such a revolving door that you essentially are recruiting and re-recruiting throughout the whole process altogether. And the thing is, I think that's, to me, is the misnomer, is like you still are recruiting throughout the process period, right? Like, so there's guys who you've been touching base with over the course of time that they may come and say, well, I do want to see the direction that the school is going to move in now, but they have been committed, or they have the desire to move in the direction of going to this school or that school or whatever. And so, those kind of connections that you've been building over time, you still got that database, as they say, right? That CRM, like when Kerry got slid that paper, all that work that he did in them connections he got, that company ain't give him all the connections and let him leave.
No.
Let's stay with the company, right? In the same way here, a lot of their work that's being done, the connections are still staying with the university. But I do think Martin makes a good point, and I've seen this at other schools, is they have a dedicated recruiting coordinator in the first place. I think that obviously changes a lot when you see schools have somebody who their only objective is primarily being the recruiting coordinator, which is dealing with a lot of it can be logistical stuff, right? Of setting up, visits and doing a lot of things like that. So it makes sense if you can take some of that away from, one of your primary positional coaches, right? Or
position. That's the biggest thing. And now the other thing that's happening is a lot of high school coaches are telling kids at a certain point, if you have an offer, if it's a committable offer, take that offer and still take visits to other schools. Now, when I was coaching, I never told a black kid not to take a visit to another school. And even if it was the last week, I'm like, man, explore your options, because I know I wouldn't let somebody tell my son, if you go to XYZ, then we gonna drop you. If you're gonna drop me like that, you didn't really want me that bad. That's the way I look at it. So I'm not gonna tell somebody not to explore their options, especially that joker look like me.
Nah, that's big. I see Cuse makes a point. High schools are realizing they might be a casualty in a later signing period, so they are signing earlier. So I mean, and that's the big thing. A lot of times, I mean, it's attrition at the end of the day, right? With the big guys looking at primarily transfers a lot of times now, just because of how it is. You got a lot of high schoolers that at the end of the day fall through the cracks simply because of how just the new system is set up right now, right? And with the money that's involved. And I mean, you got to think, if Colorado, for example, makes it to the college football playoff, the amount of money difference between them going to a regular bowl game and them going to an FCS playoff game is drastically different, right? You know what I'm saying? And so the amount of money that these schools are going to be pouring into trying to get guys who I know this guy has played here. I want to grab him instead of maybe instead of taking 25% of my product and putting it on high schoolers that I'm be working up the ranks. Maybe I make that now 15 or 12.5%. Well, that's 12.5% now that's open to G5 programs or FCS programs, etc. And so the high schoolers it now becomes more valuable. Yeah, go ahead, Coach.
Let me tell you one other thing. So I have a couple buddies of mine that work at some SEC schools, and he said basically they have guys that around this time of year they're gonna go through all of the all SWAC teams, all of the SoCon teams, all of the mid majors, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
The next group of 5, and they will go and look at every kid that made the all conference team and see does that kid fit what we are looking for.
Yep.
And they'll drop a high school kid in a minute if they see a sophomore that makes all SWAC and he's 6'4" or 6'2" cornerback. You might as well say bye-bye because they're gonna hit him with, hey man, we got $100,000 to a joker that's getting a meal plan and some extra Chick-fil-A. He's gonna say, all right, coach, I appreciate what you did for me out of high school, but that's really where I wanted to go, So, but they have guys in their department that's all they do is look at other programs and see, and they'll just say if you have a kid from Side Woods that's playing at Rice and he does well, they may call Side Woods and say, hey, coach, we say John Jones doing pretty good down there at Rice. Do you think he's interested in transferring? And then the next thing you know, that joker jump in the portal and he'll be at, XYZ in a year. You're like, man, that kid was good, but they have departments just for scouring film. And
the thing is, you got to think, they got $100,000 for that player to come just to be their third insurance, running back, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We're not talking about them coming to take over and be the main guy, right? They got $100,000 just for you to sit on the bench as an insurance in case, right? We need to plug you and play you here or there, right? You know what I'm saying? And that's the reality of the situation. A lot of guys are realizing that just because you even getting some money don't necessarily mean you're going to get playing time because those two things are completely different. These guys got billions of dollars in their coffers. Like the $100K that changes your life don't change nothing for them, right? You know what I'm saying? And so, it's so interesting to see, this dynamic and how things go and people making decisions. I've heard even this with the quarterbacks up at one of the FCS programs, right, where they basically said that they will stay the extra year. And now essentially they look like they're going to be able to go to even a higher level school because they stayed an extra year at FCS. And now they're going to make more money essentially, right, by making that jump. And so, this is how things are going to go. But it, like I say, what it does is it gives the opportunity for, us as HBCUs to really be able to get quality high school, products, right? And at the end of the day, it just is what it is, right? You look at where the market's going and you fit yourself where the market is, right? Like, so if we're going to quote unquote programs that people are going to come poach, okay. And if you're gonna run by all, you can't take all the 6'8" guys from Texas now no more, then, right? Okay, cool. Well, we can take them in, build them up, and work with them over the couple of years, right? If you don't, all right, we can do that then, right? You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day. So, go ahead.
Now, I was gonna say, but this is where the problem is. We don't have any patience for program building anymore. So you can't go in there saying, I'm going to take an undersized or oversized guy and in 2 years, I'm going to have a dog. Like, no, you better be winning in year 1 or in year 2, we're going to be looking at you sideways. So the days of program building are gone. Just put that sucker in the microwave, find some transfers, even though we're not offering NIL or cost of living money, and we still want you to win all these games.
That's a good point. Right. So it's like, now how do you manage, having to move your program quickly with this new NIL era, right? Where your team is essentially getting, because we talked about Tennessee State earlier. If they would have kept some of the guys they had already, they are completely different. Right?
Look at the guys that FAM lost in the portal. The defensive linemen that they had last year, they pretty much had to change their whole defense scheme because of the defensive tackles that they lost that were inside. Like, they look different than everybody else in the SWAC last year. That's why they won. You look at Jackson now. Jackson looks different. Fam is a close second, but Jackson looked different than everybody else in the SWAC.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I think that's going to be the, that's going to be the thing, right? You kind of have to essentially use the portal somewhat, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, to get certain pieces, and then you have to also at the same time be able to grab, high school talent in order to make that program kind of flow together, so that it actually is moving at a not at a snail's pace, but at a quicker pace, right? Because like you say, now we're in 2024, and we not only do we got microwaves, we got air fryers. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of stuff that can cook stuff fast. You feel me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, man, what are you guys' thoughts on this Southern versus with Alabama State versus PV game this past weekend? 9-6 victory for Alabama State. Really offensively, really couldn't get anything going. Defensive, battle obviously throughout this game, and a couple turnovers on both sides. But what was your thoughts overall on this game before we close it out?
I knew it's weird, and maybe I'm just superstitious, but when Prairie View's kicker, I think he missed one. Is it? He missed one kick, I think. But
the second one, yeah.
Yeah, that always makes me nervous because he's automatic. When he misses a kick, I say, "Ooh, it's not our day." And the other thing that got me is this is an Eddie Robinson game. He loves an ugly, smash it up, can't get a first down kind of game because all he has to do is get one more point than you. He likes those kind of games because if it's defensive, he can adjust and just clamp you down even more. And all they had to do was inch it over the finish line. And so we had some opportunities. We missed them once again. We missed James Burns when he was 3 yards behind his guy, a better pass, and that was clearly a touchdown. Spiller kind of had a tough game, and Savage didn't make it back. That was just a tough game all around for us offensively. We couldn't block their front four, so we just couldn't get anything going. And I know they think they might have gave it to him too much, but I still would have liked to see McDowell get the ball a little more. And I know that Bingham, number 20, probably couldn't play because of his red shirt.
Yeah.
But it's been nice to see him get some touches. But I knew he wasn't going to be able to get in that game. So it was one good, and Ratcliffe seemed to have a good game. Number 15, yeah. He made some plays and it was good. But you could tell we missed Savage. I would have liked to seen a few more balls get to the tight end to slow down that front seven of Alabama State because it looked like they just teed off on us and dared us to throw the ball.
And I did see, it'd been nice. I didn't see Heron either. I don't know if he was hurt or the situation was, but that was another player that it'd have been nice to see, us use, especially with Savage out, to get him the ball.
Yeah, with Savage out. Yeah, and once again, I say his name all the time, but shout out to Ben Stewart, who most people don't know who it is, but long snapper. Still say that guy's the best long snapper in the SWAC. He concluded his career at PV without one muff snap. And people don't understand how big. And I guess maybe I have a fascination with long snappers, but ever since KD Sable was the long snapper at PV, I remember how good he was. His mom used to take pictures for PV. That always made me watch the long snapper because we talked a few weeks ago. I talked about all the games PV lost because the long snapper snapped it high or did something weird on a punt, and we would end up not winning that game. So, it just would have, want that one back, boy. Golly, I could have tore up my paper bag.
Yeah, that was a tough game. Like I say, it was it was good defense, and I kept thinking that Prairie View was going to find a way to get that one play, maybe not through the running game, but be able to, Alabama State plays a lot of cover 3 or man, be able to either exploit a one-on-one matchup or get a cover 3 with a guy going straight down the seam. We call it full verts or bombs over Baghdad or whatever. I thought they were going to be able to make a play and get the lead, and then from then on, Alabama State was going to struggle, especially if they had to throw the ball. It was going to be real hard, and when you don't get the lead on the team that has a good defense and you have to take them out of their element, it's going to be tough. If you Eddie Robb, you walk around with almost like no shirt on, proud of how your defense played, because that's what you want, a 9-6 ball game, and they can say, man, we did it on our defense. We rolled their back. But it's from a defensive coach's standpoint, that's a good game. It might be pleasant to the eye because the passing percentage is low. We want to see the bombs and oohs and people get shook. Nah, man, you better have your chin strap buckled, your shoulder pad tied up tight, and be ready to make some tackles. And they both teams did a good job from my standpoint. It's just they had one more field goal than them because the field position battle was a big thing.
Because Alabama State had a lot better field position in this game than PV than we've had throughout this game. Diva24 says, can a head coach not override the OC decisions? The OC struggled this year. I think that's, we heard that a couple different times, I think in the coaches call too as well, about kind of like personnel and things like that. I think at the end of the day, that's it all falls on the head coach to make those end all be all decisions. Obviously, if you feel like, hey, some players, need to be, seeing the field a lot more, obviously they gotta make those calls and make those decisions. With this game, I think where it ended up lying was 3 turnovers for Prairie View to 2 for Alabama State. Obviously, we remember that last one, that fumble. That did hurt. And then you look at, we talk about 38 rushing attempts for PV, 40 for Alabama State, but the difference is 2 yards per carry for PV, 4 yards per carry for Alabama State, and obviously that made the big difference on the ground. And I think those 2 stats are, really major. One thing that was really good to see in this game, finally, right, was only 20 penalty yards, right? So obviously that was something that we were, able to keep us in the game a lot longer because we really wasn't giving up extra yardage from a penalty standpoint, especially on the defense side of the ball. But, not able to get over the hump, not able to get the ball in the end zone. I think this is the 3rd game this year that we wasn't able to score a touchdown in. And I think that's something that definitely is, you got to look back and say, man, with the playmakers that you have, that's tough, to not be able to figure out how to get the ball in the end zone, in multiple games. But with that said, man, let's move on to the game of the week. Then we're going to close out. We got the Bayou Classic, man, Southern versus Grambling. Obviously, Coach already mentioned that we don't really know who the QB is going to be for Southern. But Grambling has not looked great either, right? You know what I'm saying? So who do you got in this game? Why do you got them? And what do these teams need to do to get this victory? Because regardless of Southern going to the SWAC championship, it's still a big one, right? And Grambling will still love to grab this victory.
Yeah, I think Grambling coming in with an upset mindset that we can spoil it, but they can get the bragging rights for the state of Louisiana. Like I told you, we won the SWAC championship and nobody cared because we lost the Bayou Classic when I was coaching at Grambling. So it's one of them type of games. But I think the difference is going to be if Southern can run the ball reasonably well, I think they're going to end up winning the football game. I think Grambling's defense has not been as opportunistic as they were early in the season, but I just think that Southern being able to run is going to be the key, and a couple of passes here. But like I say, I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a 3 to 4 point game, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be close to you.
Too. And I agree because Coach Frederick is going to want to run the ball, and I think that's It's going to be some running, hitting the tight end, because I think Coach McNair is the tight end person. So it's going to be some balls to the tight end and a lot of running. So Grambling, once they give up the ball, they won't have a lot of opportunity. So this is going to be a really – I mean, you throw the records out for this game. I mean, I sit down and I watch this game because it doesn't – you can't even tell whose record is what in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know who's going to win. You just really don't know. Well, except when Kincaid played, but ooh, we hope Prairie View don't have to face nobody like that again.
Kincaid was a little different. Yeah. Kincaid
yeah. So, but this is going to be a good game. But I don't know. I think they got one more chicken foot left. I think they're gonna bring it, or they put it in the bag like Vi said to do. You know, I don't know. That's but the dog the dog might get hit this game because it is the Bayou Classic.
Listen.
So tomorrow I'm gonna say Southern.
There's a lot of streets in New Orleans where there's actually no traffic, so I mean, it's probably even less opportunity that dog get hit this week. So I'm going Southern, man, in a victory in this game to get the job done. I just feel like they figured it out, and I think Grambling's going to have a hard time if Coach Frederick commits to the run, which I think he's going to do, especially with the quarterback situation, right? And I think Grambling is going to have a hard time stopping those running backs, right? So it's going to be really interesting, though. I do think it's going to be a close game, but I got Southern pulling it out, man, late, getting the victory in this game over Grambling, man. So with that said, man, I appreciate you guys for jumping on. I know it's a Monday, but it's Thanksgiving week, so I appreciate y'all letting us slide it over, 1 week. Hey, listen, we still got SWAC coming up, championship coming up. We still got Celebration Bowl coming up, right? You know what I'm saying? So the year is not over yet, right? So we hope y'all continue to join us each week until the season is officially over. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna keep talking about it, right? And keep it moving. So until next time, man, we're gonna go ahead and head out. But Coach Kerry, any last words, man, for the people?
Nah, man, just make sure you take you a good nap after you eat before you get on that road. Hey, and look, I'm not gonna be able to watch the Bayou Classic because my son's team is playing in Pflugerville versus Waxahachie. So we're gonna try to figure out a way to stream it or something, but we looking forward to it. I know me and my sister gonna be talking noise all the rest of the week.
Oh yeah, that's high school football playoffs going on, and they got some great matchups that's gonna be coming up in this next couple of weeks in Texas.
Oh, they sure do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Them playoffs have been good, and I know it's not a high school show, but I was blown away what North Crowley did in their game because Odessa Permian don't get beat like that, and that was some game. So I hope we sending some people over there. They got some serious speed on that team. Golly. So, but good luck to your son, Waxahachie. I'm going to have to watch that one. I hope it's on YouTube. And shout out to Coach Bub for all his years of service, and just wanted to send him a shout out.
Yeah, and all the seniors, man, on this team this year, even though the year didn't go the way you guys wanted to go, obviously, listen, I always say it all the time, you're a PV alum now, all right? You know what I'm saying? It means you connected to the great and illustrious Prairie View University for years to come, all right? And so we're always connected, right, because of that. And also I saw earlier, I think Aiden Jones said that he was looking to jump in the portal. Hey, man, he was on the Jerry Rice watch list early in the season too, as well, for one of the best freshmen in the country, and I know he's gonna continue to get better, So hopefully, he still have his ear open and maybe stay. But regardless, right, wherever he goes, man, I know he's gonna continue to get better. I mean, he had an amazing year this year to lead the team in tackles, and so this is what we talked about a little bit earlier, right, in that transfer portal with these guys that's young. He was a redshirt freshman, right? So redshirt freshman, sophomore year, who come up, who really show that they can play, end up having opportunities to go elsewhere. And so wherever he goes, I just hope is a place where he not only, gets paid, but also he gets to be on the field, you know what I'm saying? Because he has talent that I hope he continues to be able to show. So with that being said, man, we're going to holler, say DF Dub teams. Yeah. Hey, listen, it's going to be interesting. We got it's going to be some good Texas and some good Louisiana, high school playoffs. So I'm interested in seeing it all and seeing how it go. My hometown Neville squad, we're going to see what they do this year too as well. So with that being said, man, we're going to holler at y'all.